Okay, perfect. Well, thank you everyone for attending this webinar. My name is Evander Felix. I am the Kaiser Dietetic Intern, and today I'll be speaking on weight loss. Now, my title this afternoon is Weight Loss in the 21st Century. All right, now a century is 99 years, right? So that's a whole lot of time. But my focus will not be on where we are currently because we are in the 21st century. We're in the earlier years of it. I want my focus to be more so on the latter end of it. So whenever I say 21st century or future, think not now and think off into the distance. Hindsight is 2020. And I know that's an expression we all heard. And what that basically means is that in a past situation, it is easier to make a decision now than it was in that moment. For example, recent Powerball numbers were 5, 8, 17, 27, 28, and 14. It doesn't help me to know that now, but had I known it, there might have been a different intern speaking with you all today. And had you known it, you may not be here either. So the point is, information becomes clearer as time progresses. Also makes the decision-making process a lot easier because all the unknowns are now known. We also have our past as an ever-present example to aid us in making better decisions now. This is another thing we've heard of, 2020 vision. And basically 2020 vision is known as the standard for good vision. And the reason that is because of the 20-foot rule. And what that means is that from a distance of 20 feet, everything that should be seen can be seen. Right? So everything within 20 feet, you are able to see from that distance away. And what happens is when you have a lesser vision than 2020 is that whatever can be seen at that distance, you need to be closer in order to see it. And the point I'm trying to make is that too oftentimes we tend to switch our views on nutrition and health to match another person's view. But today I don't want to look at weight loss how most people look at it, because I don't think you would benefit from it. What I would rather do is have you look at weight loss through the lens of a dietitian or someone in the 21st century. Just the latter part of it. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to look at the dietitian's point of view. Before we do that, I want to look at this quick video, which will make the topic a little bit more clear.
Oh, you're terrible.
Wait! Stop! Don't eat that food!
Who are you? What are you doing in our house?
I'm from the future. I'm here to warn you, don't eat that food.
Why not?
The eggs, they're full of cholesterol.
What?
Cholesterol, it clogs up your arteries. Eating even just one egg can dramatically increase your chance of heart attack. Don't eat eggs.
Oh my God, thank you.
You're welcome. Godspeed.
Well, I guess I better take those eggs.
Wait! Stop!
You're back.
Yeah, we were wrong about the eggs.
How?
Well, it turns out there's two types of cholesterol. There's good cholesterol and bad cholesterol, and eggs actually have both. So you can eat eggs, but just don't eat the egg yolks. So stick with the egg whites.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Godspeed. Wait! We were wrong about the eggs.
Again?
Yeah, okay, so it turns out that the amount of cholesterol in a food doesn't actually affect how much cholesterol ends up in your blood. The eggs are probably fine. In fact, we sort of don't even know what cholesterol is. But the steak! You can't eat the steak!
Why not?
Turns out that red meat increases your chance of heart attack. You have to cut out red meat. So no steak!
Thank you.
Godspeed.
What? No steak, mister.
Wait! We were wrong about the steak. It's the toast. Man was not meant to eat bread.
What do you mean man was not meant to eat bread?
Well, if you think about it, human beings should really only be eating what our Paleolithic ancestors ate. So, therefore, no bread, no toast.
How do you know what our Paleolithic ancestors ate?
Well, we just have to guess, right? I mean, we don't have any way of knowing. Whew. Okay. Went back to the Paleolithic. They are not doing well. I don't know what we were thinking. If anything, we should all be eating a lot more bread. Jeez. So I guess just ignore everything I've said and exercise.
Exercise, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys could probably use it. You've been just sitting here for the last 35 years.
It's been 5 minutes.
Right. Time travel. All right, well, Godspeed. Turns out it's genetic. Doesn't matter whether you exercise or what you eat. I'm sorry I ruined your meal.
I need 10 minutes.
Whew. Do you want some eggs?
I'd love some.
All right. So we look at that video and we laugh, but that's actually somewhat of the reality that we're in today. That's more or less what it was like in the past. And the thing is, we shouldn't necessarily be mad at the researchers of that time, because it sort of seemed like they didn't know what was the right thing to spread. That's the thing about research, is that it's a revolving door, right? Information is meant to move forward as time progresses. But there were a lot of claims that were made in the past. Some of us were probably around during that time to hear some of the claims that that video talked about. And those claims were researched. And what the researchers did was they moved with the research. It's everything we learned in 5th grade, right? Research begins with a hypothesis. The rest of the process is just thoroughly testing whether or not that hypothesis is valid or not. The problem is when people wanted to stay within that revolving door. They didn't want to move with the research. They wanted to stay current and did whatever they had to do in order to ensure that their diet's popularity didn't die. And that's the problem with this right here. This has been going on for the last 200 years. I mean, look at all these diets. Some of these diets that were introduced early in the 1800s, you find elements of them still today, right? So I understand why you all are here. You're here because this has been so difficult to navigate. I mean, look at all of these diets. For the person who's genuinely trying to lose weight and live a healthy lifestyle, it's hard because they have to navigate between 10 to 15 diets before doing so. And they figure, why bother? And then that why bother comes after they've already tried 1 or 3 times, and they might have had some good results, but they gained all that back when they realized they couldn't adhere to the diet for the long term. So they're beat up mentally because they can't get the results they want, and they're beat up physically because some of these diets have abused their metabolism to the point now where they just can't lose weight, or it's very difficult to do that. And I find it funny that nearly 200 years later, we've still found a way to make one of the most basic elements of life more complicated than, I don't know, computer programming. If you have an issue with a computer, you hire a professional. If I have an issue with my drain, I call a plumber. And I bet 200 years ago, they never imagined the people of the future now would need to hire someone to teach them how to eat, right? And the fault is not on you or anyone who's maybe subscribed to any one of these diets, or maybe it still is subscribed to one of them. The issue is with people who have come in to monopolize helping people lose weight, which is the problem with this. There's no other avenue that monopolizes trying to help people lose weight more than these right here, especially YouTube. Doesn't mean there's not good information that you can find through these. Just means you have to be a little bit careful when you're weeding through them. So for this present situation, we are in the information age. It's the age where we deal with a lot more complex problems than we dealt with in the past. For instance, if I had an idea or innovation in the past, I wouldn't reach the masses of people unless I had a large enough platform. And I don't think anyone had a large enough platform back in those days. But today's different. Today, you could be a 16-year-old kid in your mother's basement with over 100,000 subscribers, right? You could have a whole YouTube channel about health and fitness, and people will listen to you. Information travels very fast, but it's also hard to track the origins. I mean, you would never know that that person's a 16-year-old kid in their mother's basement. And even if you did know, you wouldn't know if that's a credible source or not. Information nowadays has been very hard to prove its validity. You know, we've heard of all the fact checks and stuff, and you ought to do that also when it comes to health and nutrition advice that's going around. Another thing is the regulation. There's very little regulation when it comes to who can give advice about nutrition and health. You'll find that if you ever go to a gym, you can sign up with a coach who's probably been a coach for a little more than 3 days, who doesn't know a thing about nutrition. Not saying coaches don't, but you can find one who doesn't, but they'll still give you nutritional advice. And that's a little scary considering the amount of times I've heard it and I've seen it happen to people, and their metabolism gets messed up quite a bit. And the reason these people have so much success is because they're selling false hope. I can understand for someone who has been trying to lose weight, you know, for the last 3 years or so, and has finally come upon something that says they can lose weight quickly in, you know, 2 weeks or 2 months. All they have to do is take in this product. I can understand a person who goes for that. And again, we're not blaming the people who do go for that. Just trying to educate and bring a little bit more light in light of the situation that we're in right now. But you do have a lot of people who monopolize, like we talked about, helping people. See, I think personally, the only consumable weight loss product you should pay for is food, right? Now, if you are on a product, all you have to do is go through the process we spoke about. The same thing the researchers did in the past, same thing you can do right now. What claim is a product making, or is a diet making? Has it been researched? And does the research support it as being something that you should currently consume? If not, it's probably time to move along with the research. So we've also have now come down to the truth, because there is some truth in all of this. And I don't mean all of these things before, but in this present situation in the 21st century where we are currently, there is some truth about health that we can learn. And that's what I want to leave with you. That is the Nutrition 101. This is basically how food interacts with our body on a scientific level. This is not going to change whether we're in the past, present, or future. This is something you can rely on. Number 1, food is fuel. Number 2, eating for you. And number 3, you have to know your numbers. So starting off with this car, right? This is a pretty nice car. This is what some would call a luxury car. And over here is what you would call a beater car. Now, sorry if your car looks like that, but just calling it how I see it. This is a beater car. These cars are very different in their appearance, obviously, the materials and the amount of time it took to build it. And their price point represents that. So over here, this car is about $300,000. The car over here is about $500. Big difference. I want to ask you a question. Which of these two vehicles will arrive at their destination if they have fastest if they have zero gas? If you answered neither, then you're correct. Cars cannot move without gas. Cars need fuel in order to move. That's similar to the human body, right? Food is our fuel. Our bodies need fuel in order to function. And that fuel is going to come from the calories that we take in from different food. This is where the macros come into play. You've heard of your fats, carbohydrates, proteins, and even some traces in alcohol. And right here is two scales. I want to turn your attention though to the first scale, the one with the fruits on it. And this is basically what it looks like. This is your energy balance. The foods you take in and the energy you put out, it should be at a perfect balance, and you will see that you will maintain your weight. Our weight is going to fluctuate, a few pounds on a daily basis. That's normal. But generally, we should be in a maintenance range. That's going to be our balance. And the most integral part about this is we take in, and we also put something out. Now, the three main portions are of the energy expenditure is what we're putting out. The main thing we have control over is our physical activity. It's important to exercise. And now you can see what effect positive exercise has on that energy balance. But it also makes sense that the food that you take in has to support your physical activity. So that brings us into eating for you. Everyone's physical activity is going to be different, and there's nothing wrong with that. You basically have to find out, what is your activity level? Are you lightly active? Are you moderately active? Are you very active? Or are you sedentary? All of that matters because what you take in terms of food has to match your activity level. So you can't be lightly active, but you eat like you're very active, right? For example, I know we've all heard of the name Michael Phelps. He's not competing anymore, but when he did, he probably consumed somewhere of about 11,000 calories on a daily basis. I want to put it in perspective for you. An average male takes in about 2,500. Average female takes in about 2,000 on average. But I guarantee Michael Phelps isn't eating how he used to eat anymore because he's not competing at that degree like he was. So it's all about your needs, your activity level, and what's normal for you. Right, so if you look at some of these tools on the page, these are some helpful tools to kind of help you eat within your norm. Generally, a deck of cards is going to tell you about how much protein you should be taking in. While a CD disc is going to tell you about how much bread you should be taking in. Pasta and rice, baseball, a couple dice is for cheese. But if you don't have any of these, I know there's one thing you do have, and that's a fist. If you put your fist up in the air and close it, you make a fist out of it, right? That's generally about what you should be taking in of some of these different foods, right? An open cusp hand is what you're going to need for protein. Rice is going to be a closed fist, so on and so forth. But you're able to figure out what the right portion size for you is just by using a fist. It brings us also to knowing your numbers. So you've learned the importance of knowing your activity level, also the importance of maybe some portion control, right? Eating for you and your activity level, but you also have to know your number. And this is where the work begins. When you look at a scale, a balanced scale, what you'll typically see is that when both sides are balanced, you'll see a number at the bottom. If it's an electric scale, that is a numerical value for the balance you're seeing. This is also true for your body. So there is a numerical value that represents the daily calories that you need to take in to maintain that balance, which is you maintaining your weight. There's several different ways to find that number out. There's a couple calculations. These calculations include some of the main ones being the Mifflin-St. Jeroen. Another one is the Harris-Benedict. And then there's some online calculators. And what these take into account are your age, your height, your weight, and your activity level. Now, these calculations are all good because they give you a starting point, but keep in mind that they're only an estimation. They won't get it down to an exact science. That's why I prefer the experimental method. And what this method is basically it's putting it within your control. It's making you responsible because you're going to have to track and you're going to have to take into account what you're eating. And you're still eating within your norm and what's normal for you, but you're taking note of it. And you can do this in a simple way because trust me, there's ways that you can do that make it very laborious and it makes people not want to do it. Right? So I'm not saying, keep a pencil and paper with you and write every single food you're taking in, unless that's normal for you. If not, if you're like most people, then having your smartphone will just be enough. And we should all have smartphones by now. It's 2021. And what you're going to do is you're going to take a picture of what you're eating. Just a simple snapshot. Every meal you have, anything you put in your mouth, just take a picture of it, juice included. And what that's going to do over the course of a month, 2 months of doing this, and if you plug it into one of those food trackers online, whichever you prefer, there's a couple good ones like MyFitnessPal. What you're going to see after about a month of doing that, you're going to know more about food. And it's going to be in a fun way too. So you'll know, for example, that a piece of bread you've been eating for 4 weeks that you eat on a continual basis, that bread is still 80 calories. It was 80 when you started, and it was 80, 4 weeks afterwards. So you'll know a little bit more about food. Chicken breast will always be the same. Rice will always be the same if you're eating within that same portion that you had. And that's going to help you. That's going to help you when it comes to tracking what is your actual number. After that time period, you'll know, okay, I'm eating about a range of 2,000 or so odd calories. What I have for you now is a case study. And basically what I'll be doing is letting you in on the kind of consultation I would give this person after they figured out their number. Because you can figure out your number, but then what do you do now? And so we also have not only this person's calories, we have that their activity level is sedentary. We have their BMI. We see that they're overweight. So what can we do to affect change with this person in a gradual way that they can adhere to in the long term? So in order to affect weight, you have to either be at a surplus or a deficit. Surplus is going to add weight. Deficit is going to remove weight. So knowing your numbers and your activity level is a perfect way to start because now you'll know exactly where to flex on the scale. So this person is sedentary. So we know that one of the first places to flex is on the energy expenditure side. So we can allow this person to increase their activity level just slightly. Even a little bit will cause that scale to dip, which is exactly what we want to do. So we have to find out, why is this person not exercising? Is it because they feel it's too daunting? A lot of times exercise can feel very daunting. It really can, especially when it comes down to going to a gym. So taking gradual steps are better than trying to make that one big step. So even just incorporating small exercises can help in the long term. Also remembering that exercise is only one part of the equation, right? There's also the food side. So what can we do with 2,700 calories? Well, easy. First, let's talk about what you shouldn't do. Most people think, okay, 2,700 calories, I have to create a deficit, so let me go down to 1,000. Don't do that. Your bodies will not thank you. And you want your bodies to cooperate with you on this, so take the gradual approach. Do things slowly. Nothing's going to be quick. But now that you know how the process works a little bit, you can understand that you're in this for the long term, right? So decreasing your calories slightly, gradually, over the course of a few weeks to months is definitely going to help you lose weight because this is the science of it, right? So with 2,700 calories, what I wouldn't do is obviously go down to 1,000, but rather I would look at how much meals is this person eating, right? Let's say it was 4 meals. What I would do is not decrease it to 2 meals, but I would look at those meals and examine the contents of them. Let's say, for instance, this person enjoyed having 5 bananas spread out over the course of those 4 meals, right? As this person's been tracking, they know, hey, banana, for example, is about 80 calories, okay? This person may also like oranges. For example, an orange can be, let's say, 30 calories. So just by replacing the banana with the orange, you're bringing in less calories on a daily basis, right? So you're creating that deficit and you're still eating the same amount of food, because it can be challenging to go from eating 3 meals a day with all these different elements on them to 2 meals a day, and you're missing a lot. You're feeling hungry at the end of the day. We don't want to do that. We want to basically do these things gradually to increase the long-term adherence of it. So that's something you can do in a small example, but generally you'll look at the entire meal, the entire structure of the meal, and you look at all the different replacements that you can make in order to decrease that calorie. I call it a budget. You'll be able to use your calorie dollars a little bit more effectively, create that deficit, and over time that's going to lead to losing weight. Now, we definitely want to assume that this person has no other ailments, because that may bring in some challenges as well. So assuming that there's no other ailments, then this will work for this person. I want to talk about some final thoughts that I can leave you with that help you on your journey going forward. So number 1, you want to have 20/20 vision. What do I mean? As your health journey is going forward, I want you to look at it from the lens of a dietitian. Have that long view in mind. Don't go for anything quick. Take the slow, gradual route. It's going to help you in the long term. Trust me. Also understand that you'll see different diets pop up. You'll hear a research paper came out. You may see a YouTube advertisement. Don't get swayed by these things suddenly, though. Take time to consider. Are they making any kind of claims? Has this claim been researched? And does the research currently support it as something that I should incorporate? If not, then kick it to the curb. If it does, hey, go for it, incorporate it. As long as it works with you and you feel like you can adhere to it for the long term, right? Also keep in mind that food is fuel, and you are going to have these debates go on in the health world about which food or which diet is particularly better. And like I said, some of you all may subscribe to some of the diets that are leading in those debates. There's nothing wrong with that. But just keep in mind that it's ultimately going to boil down to what works for you and what you can adhere to. I know I've said that a lot. It also comes down to eating for you. At the end of the day, you can't eat for your coach. You can't eat for your dietitian. You can only eat for you. Only you are able to know if you can do this for the long haul. You also want to know your numbers. So it's going to require some work on your hands. You're going to have to carry that phone with you. You're going to have to snap those pictures. It'll be fun. Make an Instagram account. Share it with all of us. It'll be fun. I also think that 2020 kind of taught us a lot. We've learned the importance of a couple things that a lot of people are taking with them going forward in their health journey. That is the importance of sleep. People understand, hey, it's not all hustle and bustle. You have to take some time to relax as well, right? People also realize the importance of plant protein. It's not all about animal protein. And now the plant protein tastes kind of good. I mean, 20 years ago, probably couldn't say that, but now it's something different. And I'll probably ask you all in the chat if any of you have had a Beyond Burger or a Black Bean Burger recently. They're pretty good. There's also the importance that people are understanding of exercise, right? Needing to be outside, outdoors. And even if you can't be outdoors, you can still exercise inside, or you can incorporate small exercise in your daily life. You can try instead of parking at the same parking spot, try parking a few rows back. That increased time in you walking, that's exercise. If you, instead of taking the elevators, take the stairs, that's exercise. So little things like that. People also understood the importance of anatomy and physiology, right? They understood that, hey, it's not just about what's on the dining room table, it's about what's in my body. So the research on gut health is coming to be quite amazing. People are realizing that it's pretty important. Now, all the science isn't out on it yet, but people are realizing, hey, if you have a yogurt every once in a while, it won't kill you. It'll actually benefit you pretty well. So those are some things that I can leave with you, as well as the importance of mental health, right? And just making sure that, you know, finding ways to cope with stress can definitely be a big deal, because we all know that stress eating can be an issue. I know it is for me at some points, but finding ways to deal with stress, and I think incorporating all of these, sleep, exercise, are going to help you in the long term. Some references, and I'll leave you with this. And that's my presentation.